Another thing I've learned collectively over the past year or so, but I've really only realized it in the past month or so, is that I need to get back to being myself. I keep saying that. These days just keep rolling on. I don't know how to stop it. It's very strange. It's just like it's a fucking runaway train. It's out of control. No one else realizes it because they're part of the system. This time, fucking time, they go on about gravity. Flat earthers go on about gravity. But I would be much more interested in time. What we are doing, the universe is run as a series of still images, but we are conscious of them changing from one frame to the next. There is a resolution of the universe. There is a resolution to reality. To where if you zoom in close enough, you will actually find the edges of reality, the edges of creation, just like pixels on a screen. There is a pixel resolution to the universe. They zoom in on the fucking particles and try to smash the particles. That's not actually doing anything because the universe is not made of anything. It's not made of the damn particles. It's a projection of light, and the particles are just that's the resolution size. You're zooming in on the damn pixels. What I find much more interesting is the process of time, much more than space. Space is just a measure of that which can be seen, but time is a measure of the rate of change, which there again there is a minimal amount of time. The smallest space of time between 2 points, there is a minimum of time, just like there's a minimum of space, where you break down the elements to the smallest particle, and then you cannot break down the particles anymore. No more than you can zoom in past the pixel. What is a pixel made of? Well, you can't break a pixel apart. What is time made of? Time has a unit as well, and it's the unit of the integral between each frame. But we are aware of the rate of change. We are aware of the passage of time from one frame to the next, which means that we are actually existing. We are actually conscious on a level that supersedes reality. It supersedes the universe. Our consciousness is actually set from outside the cosmos, the construct of the cosmos. And this is important. This is saying something because it means our consciousness is actually greater than time and space, because our awareness allows us to perceive it. That's like us sitting here. We're on the screen. We're a picture on the screen being broadcast as an image, as a movie, yet we are aware of ourselves, some of us anyway, are aware of ourselves being projected as an image in a screen. When you become aware that you are an image, when you become aware that it's all predestined, when you become aware that you're part of a construct, then you step through the monitor. You step through the screen. And that's your first step to becoming alive. It's your first step to becoming real, becoming actual. And if Antonio hates the idea of predestination and hates the idea of the simulation theory, that's your first step to becoming as God is. And it's to realize it's all an illusion. Another way, that's another reason he's going in the exact opposite direction of how he should be, of how we should be going. And so I am concerned about time. And it feels like we are being sped up. And maybe perhaps because of my particular connection to God, maybe I'm more aware of it than the average person is. But to me it seems like time is just fucking breaking the speed limit at this point. 100 miles an hour by comparison. The speed limit's fucking 50. It's almost scary to me how fast it's moving. Time, when I was a child, time used to float in the air like it would just hang there. Of course, and I have said that I have seen time slow and time stop, and it's been suggested to me that it has to do with all of our chemical balances and things like that. It's kind of like those Tibetan monks that can raise their body temperature by concentrating, and they'll go out in the damn snow, and that's very interesting. Mind over matter. But mind over time. I am of the belief that we are intended to become as God is. But I'm also of the opinion that we were already doing that to begin with. We were much closer to that state in the beginning. And the lie of the Nakash is that if we listen to them, then they will show us how it is done. And all they ever do is lead us further away from the process we were already on of becoming as God is. But you cannot become as God is by severing yourself from that God. And by calling ourselves gods already, we are doing just that. Like a fucking child saying that they are equivalent to someone that's been through college. That all the kids think they know everything anyway, right? Well, that's what we are. Well, that's what Lucifer did. That's the whole point. He's trying to tell you, you can be a god now. You can shape reality now. You can make your own destiny now. You can make your own world now. Without going through the process of learning how or gaining responsibility for it. Everybody wants it now, and that's what cut us off from God in the first place. And we still follow that lie, even though now we are so much further away from God than we were. We've lost all of our abilities. We've lost our telekinesis. We've lost telepathy. We can't make the pyramids anymore, or anything like that. Any of the ancient structures, we can't even make any of that shit anymore. Because we are further from God, we're further from what we used to be, from what we're supposed to be. And that's what the history of humanity shows us, is the continual degradation of mankind, which is equivalent to our separation from God. As a race, as a species. And it's only going to get worse, no matter what we believe, because we are fundamentally separated to begin with. Which is why we need rectification. And the only one that The only religion that promotes rectification through an outside source by way of predestination is Christianity. That's the only viable solution there is Christ atoning for us individually. And to go against that is to go against God. It's as simple as that. And that's why everybody hates it. Because they want to be their own God. They want to save themselves, etc., etc. They refuse to believe that there's no other way out. But what if there isn't any other way out? Are you telling me that you're going to sit there and be so arrogant as to not make allowance for all possibilities to be correct? And in my worldview, I try to make allowance for everything possible to be true. And you cannot cut that possibility out just because you don't want it to be. So you have to make all the proper preparations, you might say, for whatever the case may be when you wake up on the other side. To not do that is to be not the sharpest knife in the drawer. People have to make their worldview big enough for God to fit in. If they can't do that, then what can they do? They cut him out just because they don't want to have to deal with the idea that he has to be there. They need him to be there, like a child, always saying the parent is wrong. As the fool says in his heart, there is no God. And everyone that wants to believe in some kind of a God, by default, has to force him to fit whatever they can conceive him to be. And they just brush it aside and say it is what it is. Who cares? It's just crazy to me how people can say that we are our own God. We all have a part of God in us. That is so ridiculous. Yes, we all have a part of God in us. Everything is meant to be the way that it is. Everything is peace and love and harmony. That's why the world is so vicious and everybody's dying. All the wars and famine and pestilence, all the animals tearing each other apart to survive, because all is well with the universe. No, something is wrong, and it's outside of our control to fix it. So that means someone else has to fix it. If it's going to be fixed, if it's going to be rectified, then God has to be the one to rectify it. That means there has to be an overarching source, an overarching power that is capable of doing such a thing. We can sit here and deconstruct reality, but the very act, the very process of the degradation of society, of humanity, of the world environment, is the result of our process of trying to make it better by the application of our will. And us trying to become our own gods, and so on and so forth. We bow down to the Nakash. The Nakash sets up the kingdoms. We bow down to the king. We take on his money. We take on his slavery. We work with the system, all because we tried to become our own gods in the first place. That initiated the global system, that initiated the New World Order, that initiated global Babylon, Mystery Babylon, the Masons, etc., etc., all because humanity started off chasing the dream of becoming their own god and making their own destiny. Well, that became nowadays the modern American dream, where you go and slave away your life for the system to produce a little money in the bank to create your life with, that they teach you have to have in the first place, based on culture, that dictate to you what you have to do to become what you have to be. You do what they tell you to give what they say so you can be what they say you have to be. And it all goes back to the source, the original problem, the fall of man, the fall of the earth, which goes back to us wanting to cut to the chase and be our own gods now. And the result of us being our own gods now is that we have fucked it all up. The reason the world is the way it is now is because that's what we have done. Wanted to be our own God. And all we did was jump in the car and crash it because we don't yet know how to drive. People just can't see it. One day they will. Everyone will. Eventually. It is inevitable. But for now we see through a glass darkly.